Welcome to SOS for Your Life, Emergency Wisdom for Everyday Life. I'm your host, Susie St. Angelo, and thank you for being here. Today's episode is called The Joy of Travel. Grow, See, Do. And today I'll be talking to Lorryn Langton, the owner of Pink Pineapple Travel, a Fishers, Indiana-based travel agency. She leads a team of 13 travel designers, planning clients' travel around the globe. She's also a mom of 2 tweens, and she is married to her high school sweetheart of over 20 years. You know, sometimes I keep referencing all the things that contribute to our health, not including diet and exercise. That can be finance, that could be our career, that's our home environment, that's our home cooking. Well, today I'm talking about the joy of travel. And for many of us, we know that joy. It's either the planning stage, the going stage, the research, it's all that. And so I'm so excited to talk to Lorryn, and she has so many good tips for all of us. I'm sure you'll want to stay tuned. So this podcast is for you if you know you want to change something. Maybe it's your career, your health, or another aspect of your life. And you might wonder if this is the right age or stage in life to make that change. And you don't know where to stop. Well, start. You might want to tune in today because you'll get 1 or 2 good tips on things you can do to move that forward. Or maybe you're one of those people caught in analysis paralysis. I see, I understand, and I used to feel the same way. Just a reminder that you can find this podcast on Spotify, YouTube, iHeart, Apple, and Amazon platforms. And be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Let's get into today's conversation and meet my guest, Lorryn Langton.
Thank you. Good morning, Susie. I'm so honored to be a part of your podcast. I've been listening and following along with wonderful guest speakers, and I just feel so honored to be here.
Well, thank you, Lorryn. I'm so happy you could be on SOS for Your Life, Emergency Wisdom for Everyday Life. And I talk a lot about things that contribute to our health. And one of those things that I haven't really covered much has been joy and what brings us joy. And I really believe that travel and planning trips brings us joy. So tell everybody a little bit about yourself and how you were inspired to be a travel owner, a travel agency owner.
Absolutely. My pleasure. I'm Lorryn, with the owner of Pink Pineapple Travel. We are a home-based travel agency based out of Fishers, Indiana. I have been a travel advisor for 10 plus years. I've seen quite a few things and crises during that time, as you can imagine. But I think my love for travel started with my honeymoon. I didn't travel growing up as a kid very much at all. So my husband and I took our honeymoon, which was pivotal and always memorable for everyone if they have the chance to take a honeymoon. And we traveled a lot before kids. And I should mention, I'm a mom of 2 girls, ages 11 and 14. So they keep me very busy. And I'm married to my high school sweetheart of 20 years this past September. So those times before kids, we traveled a ton. And I quickly became known as the go-to expert with our friends and family. Where should we go for this? And we went to the Olympics in Vancouver. We golfed a lot domestically. We went to various sandals resorts all around Mexico and the Caribbean, all-inclusives, and Hawaii. And I used to sell country club memberships and perform marketing for a lot of country clubs around the country. And I wanted to stay home with my kids, wanted an opportunity to work from home, that elusive work from home that pre-COVID really was rare. And I wondered what my passion was that I could make money at and share. And that kept coming back to me as travel. So I was introduced to this industry, which is huge, but so small. I've learned over 10 years. I love it. It's kind of an addiction, I'll be honest. We always want a plane, a flight purchase. And I travel quite frequently. I think I was gone this summer 22 of 70 days between a visit to St. Vincent in the Caribbean, Croatia, and a reward trip to Mexico. So I lead a team of 13 travel designers. We call ourselves travel designers because we curate, craft, and build itineraries for our clients all around the globe. I remind my team we're not order takers. Anyone could just hop on a website and click a few buttons. But we love to learn about our clients, what your vision is, your interests, what this trip is about. I think since COVID, especially, travel has become more immersive. It's been more intentional. And we realize tomorrow is not promised. We want to spend our money, our investment wisely. And it's a great joy for me to be able to bring those attributes that the client envisions and shares into a trip of a lifetime, or just the necessary R&R to get away, rejuvenate, reconnect with their loved one, or take a pause. So I lead a team of 13 travel designers, as I was mentioning, and everyone has a specialty or niche that they love to book. We have an advisor on our team that lived in South Africa. We have one that lived in Europe, one that's been to every continent. So one that's been to every Disney World resort. They've stayed at every Disney World property. So we really book everything under the sun, the Northern Lights, chase to Paris to Universal Studios and Hawaii.
I like that there are people on your team that have their specialty and their interests, or where they've found their joy too, that contribute. I was going to ask you if your kids like to travel. Do they have the bug yet?
They do. They've been bitten by the bug. My oldest, she's 14, she started traveling at 18 months with us. So they've gone through multiple passports because minor passports are valid for 5 years. And I think that traveling with my children really helps me guide my clients because I've traveled with toddlers, I've traveled with a nursing infant, I've traveled with teenagers, and it's only going to continue to grow as they age. However, I really can help families in various facets of their season of life with what to expect and some travel tips and guidance along the way.
My niece is a broadcaster, so she's on the road a lot. And when they started having children, he was finishing some education, and the place where they lived didn't have much in the way of daycare, so she had to take her infant with her on trips and have people that she worked with, watch her child while she was on camera. And so at one point, this child had been on 52 trips within the first year of her birth. First year, 18 months. She's now 2. And so she's been all over. And I wonder how she will be, as an adult, if she will recognize that as a part of her childhood. Now, I always remember traveling with my parents. We had to dress up and behave ourselves and things like that. So we know travel's different now. I mean, there's a lot more considerations. The airports and airplanes have changed. The timings changed. We're living in different times now with precautions. So
Absolutely. We have some funny stories along the way. But you're right. They do. It is really important for them to follow the policies and rules, right? We have a joke in our family internally when we are going through the TSA line at any given airport. If your bag gets pulled aside for additional screening, we call it getting pulled over. And we definitely give that individual, even if it's one of our children, a little bit of a razz because we're professionals. We should not be getting our bags pulled over. One time it was just a matter of toys, a lot of little toys, and it just looked suspicious and it got pulled over. But I also think it's important for children to be immersed in other cultures, see other currency, experience a different language and food and touch and smell and see and use all of those great senses that God gave us to experience more than what we have right here in their local town. And so for our family, we really empower our children to ask them, where do you want to travel to? They're learning Spanish in school. Should we go to Spain? They love pasta. Do you want to go learn how to make pasta in Italy? So those are some examinations that go into where we are going to travel next as a family.
So I love that. I think that they will only be better citizens and understanding other cultures by being exposed to, you know, these experiences. So that's wonderful. I also want to ask you, when you meet with someone you've never met before, are there, some questions that you ask? And would you consider your listening skill one of the best skills you have in the job that you have?
Well, it's definitely one of the most necessary skills. I sometimes I like to talk, so sometimes I do need to remind myself to pause. But I encourage our team to listen more than ask those questions. But when you ask key questions, do you tend to book at a Ritz Carlton or Hampton Inn? Do you tend to book on your own, or have you used a travel professional before? Ocean view or we don't really care, right? So asking key questions to qualify the clients helps us make sure that we get it right the first time or second time, and then we can build that itinerary that really fits their needs. Recently, I planned a trip to Ireland for a family of four. Their kids are similar ages as mine, and they loved that I planned some hotel stays in bunk beds. They don't have bunk beds at home, they don't sleep in the same room. So to have that as a vacation memory was really special for them.
Oh, sounds like it. Are there any myths about travel agents that you'd like to bust? Anything that?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Um, One in particular is a lot of first time users of travel professionals think it costs extra to utilize a travel professional. And there are certainly some industry colleagues of mine who may charge a fee, and sometimes there's various forms of that. But in our agency at Pink Pineapple Travel, we do not charge a planning fee or a plan to go fee. We are simply paid on commission from all of the suppliers around the globe. So a villa in Tuscany or that Disney cruise or Sandals Resort or a wellness retreat, we can plan it all and it's no additional cost to clients. The other thing I really love is just sometimes someone will say, well, I just like to do it myself. I really love that anticipation. And as you mentioned, travel brings so much joy, and some of that joy is leading up to the trip. I love planning alongside my clients. I love when the clients come to me with a little bit of nuggets. Well, I've looked at this hotel, or I really think my kids would love this. Great. That is just synergy together. And what I can offer is not only booking through a reputable supplier, I also give them that peace of mind. Local contacts, boots on the ground in their destination across the globe, myself here and my team back home, travel guides and tips along the way. And it really, I never want to take away that fun and anticipation. That is really part of the joy of travel.
I was going to mention that, and I'm actually going to mention that in our introduction about that because I know several people, me included, it's that anticipation and sometimes it's doing that research. And I know people who love to do the research before they go someplace, and I tend to be doing the research along the way, but also while I'm there because I want to leave some time open for some opportunities that come up, or as I'm talking to the locals, what should I do, what should I see, kind of thing. But for a number of people, they're traveling more now because they're either retiring or they just know that they're getting older and their bodies aren't what they used to be when they were another age, and they want to get in as much as they can. So it's really I'm really happy to see people having this love of travel now, whether it's domestic or international.
Yeah, I think that is one of the silver linings after the pandemic that everyone realized, I really want to get to Italy, or I want to go see some of our ancestor lineage in where generations before walked the grounds in Munich. And so where a travel professional comes in is really helping curate those moments, but also reminders when you are going across the pond, when you land, let's plan something outdoors in the fresh air with hopefully some sunlight that keeps you going. And then you're going to have dinner and go to bed. You're going to wake up refreshed, and then you're going to be on local time. And making or I've had clients want to go visit the Vatican or Pompeii in Naples. And I'm very mindful of when a cruise ship's in port at the Port of Naples and how busy that will be. Or perhaps the Pope comes out every Wednesday morning for the papal audience. And maybe you won't be able to see the entire Vatican if you planned your tour that day. So I really help them cross-reference and make sure that those items that are planned meticulously. But I also agree with you, Susie. I love room for spontaneity, and social media makes that extra fun these days with hopping on while you're at destination, and it will kind of show you what's around.
Plus, even just restaurants and getting feedback from the locals and where to go for restaurants and special hole in the wall places, I think are part of the fun too of traveling, that you're surprised. Now, I have to ask this question because I know there are people that say they like to go to the same place every year. They're not big adventurous travels, or I believe they might be somewhat fearful of the unknown, when they know they can go to the same place every year. What would you tell that person who is listening or watching about branching out and trying new travel?
Well, I think working with a travel professional would be a great start because they could share. We love going to St. Thomas or St. John for these reasons. Where else might we like to go, Lorryn? Because you've been a lot of places and you probably have a good handle on what are some similar destinations. So I think that would be the first start, and also being extremely transparent. We love this because of these reasons. We tend to only book here and we spend this. What could we get, comparable, but still see a new to us destination? So I think that transparency and communication is also really helpful.
I agree. How do you help clients tap into the emotional side of choosing a destination?
Sometimes I feel like a marriage mediator when I'm working with honeymooners, especially because usually one person and the other partner may want different things. Someone wants a beach and relaxation, and the other wants to be on the go every single day with a tour booked. So I really do try to continue to listen to their needs. And I really see a lot of localized interest. For instance, in Turks and Caicos, there's a great little um, animal rescue that you may go visit, and you can even check out one of their pups to take on a dog walk on the beach, kind of like a library book. But you know that they're getting snuggles, they're getting walks, and you're giving back to the local community. Right now, Jamaica is suffering after the hurricane. So we are in the process of always trying to share the latest updates, but also what can we do in the future to help bring more travel, more tourists? And by the way, let's pack a suitcase of school supplies or of additional needs. And then when someone is landing on the island and they can give these school supplies to these children or something else in need, they feel extra connected to the locals.
That's really special. And, I don't think we think about that all the time. And I think that's another bonus to having a travel specialist like you and your staff to notice those things, because it's so quick for us to say, well, I'm going on a vacation and, the locals are here to serve me sort of attitude. And I always am mindful I don't want to be a bad American when I travel. So I tend to, try to learn a sentences in whatever language I'm going to, of the country I'm going to. I also have a shellfish allergy, so I write out index cards in that language so that I can give that to the waiter or waitress to let them know.
That's a great idea, Susie. We are having more and more clients with dietary, whether it's, voluntary, involuntary. And at some of the resorts we work with, they have a culinary concierge, and we set that up in advance for our clients to meet with them. And they will have a card similar that they can share at the different restaurants along the resort so that everyone understands what they can and cannot have. So that's
But it's also going over to a country and being respectful of their culture and knowing at least you're able to help clients, help them with distinguishing things that they may not be aware of that country, whether it's maybe they eat later, maybe they are out later at night, they take breaks during the day, whatever that might be, or beware of scammers, beware of this and that. So I really appreciate that you also look at it in terms of how you can give back to a community that's suffering. And I think that's really, really special.
Absolutely. I think the language is a great opportunity, like you said. And in all of our travel confirmations, they would have a little lesson in Spanish, a little lesson in French, some keywords, and also things such as religious locations and venues to make sure your shoulders and knees are covered for the ladies. That's another respect. Even just asking for the bill or tipping guidelines. You can sit in Italy on a veranda and enjoy your coffee for hours. They're not going to kick you out, unlike here in America. So you do have to ask for the bill, in certain places. So there's a lot of local customary items that are really crucial for us to communicate with our clients. And, if you book it online by yourself, you don't always get those tips. Or even, especially what's more crucial is visa or entry to the country requirements. There's a lot more digital. There's things that were rolled out in Europe this year that, forms for our clients to fill out in advance, or if they were traveling from one country to the next, what they might need to know at the border patrol.
I just found that out that there were more documents to fill out. There's a small fee associated with that, and that what if they weren't using a travel agent to help them with that? Is that something? Where do they get these documents? On the plane, or are they?
Yeah, there's hope that maybe when they check in for their flight with their airline, that there's hope that would be on there. There's a lot of moving pieces and parts, so not everything is factual. Yeah, it is really crucial, and that's our job. We stay on top of it. So, and even something as simple as this is a common one. Travelers, many destinations will require that their passport be valid for 6 months following their travel or longer. And, we kind of put the passport in the safe and we forget about it and get it out ready for our trip. And it's happened before where 3 days before I get a phone call, okay, our passport's expiring next week. Where's an emergency passport location? So
I would imagine you get that a lot, actually.
right. Well, and our clients, they receive communication in advance to remind them to look. And however, if they weren't using a travel professional, they may not realize that, and they're kind of they're going to need an SOS when they get to the airport.
What's your personal favorite travel memory, and what made it unforgettable?
I would say October 2020, my husband and I were able to travel to St. Lucia, the island of St. Lucia, which is known as one of the most romantic islands in the Caribbean, kind of the Hawaii of the Caribbean. And our trip in the summer of 2020 was canceled because of our pandemic. And so it was a joy to be able to actually leave. I had to conduct all the testing and requirements that were in place at that time. And the resort we stayed at has 3 walls. So it has about 20 suites, and all of them have just 3 walls. So you sleep in a bed with a mosquito net, and you have a private heated pool, and you have beautiful views of the mountains and the ocean. And it was exactly what we needed for some respite for just the two of us after doing e-learning with our kids and all the craziness that pursued with COVID. So ensued with COVID. So with that, our time there, just the two of us. It was I think it was maybe 3 or 4 nights, but just to reconnect in such a beautiful space and be one with nature. And you really didn't have to see many people, which is exactly what you wanted still in October 2020. So that was probably my favorite. And it gave great confidence to my clients to know that I was traveling also.
Sure. If they knew you were traveling, then it was safe for them to dip their toe into it as well.
Yeah, it was good for the soul.
I was supposed to have a trip that fall too, and it was a company called Backroads, and they ended up um, pushing it back, and then they canceled it. But it was the first time I'd taken that company, and they gave me money towards another trip in 2021, which turned out to be my really a first one of my first trips, one by myself, but two with a group. And it turned out to be really amazing. And I was really glad that they were able to pivot too. Although, there were still some limitations on the travel in 2021, as you know. But I do think, that was such a difficult time, and it had to be a very stressful time for you and all the other professionals that are related to the travel industry.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all, we just thought it was just going to be a short little thing, and we just postponed, and we spent hours on the phone just rescheduling for the fall. And then once I think the fall arrived, it was okay, we need to cancel many trips. And I wanted to respect everyone's comfort levels, of course, but it was for our family and for my husband and I working from home with two little ones and e-learning and being in travel. It was essential for us to get away, and it was very transformative.
Beautiful. That's beautiful. How do you see travel changing people? Even, after one trip, how do you see it changing that?
Well, they get bitten by that bug we spoke of earlier, that travel bug. I think they come back refreshed. Usually, I mean, unless it's the parks and you're doing 20,000 steps a day, you might not feel as refreshed. However, you still feel a sense of excitement, of nourishment for your soul. For you've absolutely gained some sort of knowledge. You've tried a new food. You've learned a new word. So there's growth. I think travel can be, like I said, joyful. It can feed your soul. It can help you grow. And quite frankly, there's a little bit of an addiction of that you want some more of that because it feels good generally.
Absolutely. Do you find that your clients come back and then they'll give you a report as to how their trip went?
Yes. And I love it when they do. I love it when they share photos. My favorite compliment would be to receive the photos while they're during travel in the happy faces and the beautiful, maybe it's a beautiful beach, maybe it's some great cuisine. And then the highest compliment is when they refer their friends and family to our team. And then when we think about our team holistically, I may not be the best fit to plan every trip. So getting back to our strengths of our team, and we have a situation, not a situation, we have a client that came to us last week. She booked a cruise with one agent, which that agent loves cruising, so that's her specialty. And now she's ready to go over to Italy and be in a villa with her family. And so our team member that lived in Europe and has booked a lot of villas there, that's her specialty. And to know that this client is getting the right person, the right fit for their travels, they're going to have a superior service. So when they do come back and they tell us what worked, we also want to know what didn't work. What would you have liked to know? Because I think that's vital for our team to grow as well, to make sure that we're sharing properly with our clients.
Oh, absolutely. You're getting up to the minute intel basically on these experiences. Are there any bucket list places on your horizon?
Oh, I think I need to get to Tahiti, one of those overwater bungalows. That's been on a bucket list for a while. Um, Croatia was on my bucket list until this past year, so that was nice to cross that one off, and I cannot wait to go back. But my children have not been to Europe yet, so I think just a bucket list to take them to Europe is going to be really nice, and hopefully we'll be able to fill that one real soon.
Sure. Well, the sooner the better. I talk to people who have kids in college, and they always are excited when their kids decide to go study abroad because it gives them an opportunity to go visit and see these countries and to take part in that. So I
And we do get some clients that will say, my daughter's in, Milan. We'd love to get over there and then spend some time. And why not? And my favorite trend on travel right now is the multi-generation family travel, where it may be instead of a big retirement party or a large milestone wedding anniversary, instead of a party or gathering, or maybe in addition to, they want to take kids and grandkids and make memories together. And that has really grown since COVID, especially. But it's one of my favorites because often it's a lot of finesse of making sure that the youngest grandchild and the oldest grandchild have a place that they're entertained, the right bedding, the right destination, and also working in those magical touches. Let's make sure you get family photos. Make sure that you have this dinner reservation here because it's stunning and just a trip of a lifetime. And it is not lost on our team that we are planning some of the most magical days of our clients' lives.
Of course, I do have someone that I was with in the past who his parents took everybody, all generations, on a cruise, and it was a Mediterranean cruise, and so it was just really unforgettable for them, and the parents were just happy to be able to do that with everybody. So I think, even cruises, you can go your own way and come back together for dinner and talk about your experiences. And
Exactly. What did everyone do, throughout the day? I think cruising's a really great way for multi-generation travel because there's kids clubs on board. Sometimes there's water slides, depending on the cruise line. It really gives them the opportunity to see so much. But as you said, reunite for dinner, and and make those family memories, and everyone's happy too.
well, and I've done that with other couples, where we didn't know the couples very well, but we would always come together at dinner. We'd have our own time throughout the day and go on excursions and then come back, and that was really a lot of fun. It didn't feel stifling, or that we had to do something that a couple of people wanted to do. So it really, I think cruises do provide a lot of opportunities across the ages.
Absolutely. I just had the pleasure this past weekend to sail the inaugural sailing on Celebrity Excel. So it's their newest cruise ship with Celebrity Cruise Lines. I spent 2 nights on board this beautiful ship, modern, luxurious. It really did have something for every age group as well. And it was really a treat to just float in the ocean, just offshore from Fort Lauderdale, and experience the wonder of all the new technology, the amazing food, the aesthetics. There's just it's grown so much, the cruising industry. 2026, that is definitely going to remain a trend that cruising is here. And this ship was beautiful, and I can imagine lots of wonderful clients will be happy to sail it.
So, what are some new things on a a celebrity cruise ship that you were on? What are those new things?
They're using technology in their shows. And I would say the entertainment, especially, is stunning. They even had a speakeasy, which they do not allow any photos in it. That would be more of an adult amenity, but I was fortunate to have a special invitation to experience that. I don't have any photos to show you or proof, but maybe I didn't. Maybe I did. It was wonderful. I think the food is elevated. They really have a lot of attention to detail. There's a gluten-free section of their Ocean View Cafe. Even just the buffet, you think of a traditional cruise line buffets and feels like a lot of people. It never felt that way because they've worked so many unique seating arrangements all around the ship. You could feel like you're in a luxurious bar boutique experience, but you're at the buffet. So the aesthetics, the textiles they used, the rooftop garden, it really is a very comfortable, calming vibe instead of a busy, bustling village on the seas.
Interesting. And is this particular ship you were on? How many people? What's the capacity?
Yeah, just over 3,000. So they are the cruise line makes much larger ships. I loved this size. It felt comfortable. There was a walking, jogging track that I enjoyed. It has two pools, which one's in a solarium, and it just really felt like a lot of, I call them nooks and crannies, a lot of spaces to gather. And that is essential for a multi-generation trip or a couples trip where everyone can enjoy a beverage and the beautiful sunset over the ocean. And one of the things I loved with respect to beverages and the trend for 2026 is this Celebrity Excel had multiple bars with various options of non-alcoholic spirits or alcohol removed spirits. And I loved seeing that as an option for guests who wish not to have alcohol for one reason or another. So you could have your margarita with that ritual alcohol-free tequila.
Well, it sounds like they have listened. They've also seen what the changes over the years of what people are experiencing and what will make them happy on a cruise, whether it's non-alcoholic beverages or gluten-free or modern technology. I think that's wonderful that these cruise ships, I mean, these newer ones, have really come up with some beautiful things.
Yes, this particular cruise ship, Celebrity Excel, they no longer have one large main dining room. If you've cruised before, you may have sat down at a big table and it was a real formal uh, seating. Instead, they've replaced it with four restaurants, each with its own style and theme and vibe, if you will. And you could make reservations or you could just come and join at your leisure based on their availability. Normandy was one, it was a French restaurant. We loved the beautiful pink velour benches or settees. And Tuscany was the Italian, Cyprus was another one. So they really, if you were spending 7 nights on this cruise, you could really not repeat a meal or an experience. So they have listened. You're exactly right.
Yeah, wonderful. So, this podcast is going to air in early 2026. So,